it's not easy building a business for one, and then to do it with your life partner. Can you touch a little bit about that? I mean, I know maybe people are
Totally.
hesitant to do it, or maybe you have some tips of why to do it.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's funny, most of our friends or industry colleagues, that's one of the questions that they ask. And there's a lot of curiosity around it because I think, to your point, for most people, that just would be really challenging to be with their partner 24/7. I mean, we work from home or we're on the road, but we're always together throughout our day. I think from the first time we met, we've been together a little over 4 years. And both of us, I've been in the industry for 7 years. Claudia's been in the industry for 10 plus years. And we met at a headset data night, actually, like
Very nice.
5 years ago,
Okay.
and just kind of hit it off and had one of those relationships that just went from 0 to 100 very quickly. And it just worked for us. And we started working together really early in our relationship, where we were teaching a cannabis course, and we still do at Start Say University, which is essentially like an MBA program for a bunch of entrepreneurs from Brazil that are trying to learn about new and emerging technologies. And so we developed a course together where we were teaching, all these entrepreneurs about all the different use cases of cannabis. And we started building that program out together 3 plus years ago. So just very early on from that experience, we knew that we would work very well together. And and like I said, like it's kind of funny. A lot of our friends make fun of us because we're truly together like 24/7. We even see the same hairstylist. And some people think that's weird, but it's like just the state of like our business and how much we're on the go. We're kind of in a period of our life where a lot of this is about efficiency at this point because we just have so little time. And
Yeah.
so it just, but fortunately it works for us. Like, I think because we have a very good balance of, we're very similar individuals, but we each kind of have our own lanes that we're in, and we have a great amount of respect for each other. And just, we share a very similar perspective on what it is that we want to build, and things that are just naturally inherent to who we are. We're just so aligned on that. So fortunately for us, it's working incredibly well. Going through and like raising money and building our team, like that was definitely one of the questions that came up. But I think through time, people have just seen that our level of execution, how well we work together, we feel that we're the moat in our business. Like, it's really the two of us that's bringing so much power to this, in a sense, because it's our whole life. I mean, we're working on this from 9 a.m. to seriously like 2 a.m. every night, and it's 7 days a week. And it doesn't feel like work because it's just something that, it's just like a natural thing that we both feel so strongly within ourselves, that it's just coming out in everything that we do.
I say it's your guys' baby. It's,
It
you're
truly,
something that you're taking care of, no matter what the day and time it is, whatever attention it needs. And the more your heart's into it and your intentions are right for why it exists, I think it makes everything's makes a lot more sense as to why there's late nights, I should say.
yeah,
I love the
absolutely.
education program. I had no idea. And I know you said, is it specifically because somebody, either you or Claudia, have a Brazilian background? Is there why there was a target to is a Brazilian community?
Well, Claudia's actually Chilean, but no, it's, what, how this came about is really just a testament to the power of LinkedIn. I'd been sharing over the course of my career, especially with headset, and I came from tech. Like, my world prior was working with mobile app developers for 10 years
Okay.
before coming into cannabis. And so I personally, and then growing up being a millennial, Facebook came out the year I graduated college. So I've been using social media like for my own personal brand to build business since graduating college. And just then with LinkedIn, I started using it very actively when it comes to like sharing all the data and the insights that we were learning at Headset. And then just learn through that, like, wow, if you are sharing authentically, if you are really putting yourself out there and providing value to people, just sharing things that are helpful, a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity comes from that. And so that is how that kicked off. Someone had been following me from that university, had reached out and said, I love everything you're sharing. This would be so helpful. We have this program that is teaching entrepreneurs about AI and all kinds of things that are coming out of Silicon Valley. And so then they had reached out saying, hey, can you help our, students really understand the emerging trends in cannabis?
Is it translated in, is it Portuguese that they're
Uh,
dialect?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a translator there when we're doing it. And
Mhm.
it's really interesting because in Brazil, cannabis is so stigmatized. It really ties back to religion. And I
Yep.
think that's something that we almost take for granted here in the United States, where we almost don't realize like how advanced we are and how progressive we are in our mindset around cannabis. And so it's funny because during these classes, we'll have, 50 to 75 students in them. And for the most part, nobody speaks English. So we have this translator. And when we start off the class, I always like to say, like, okay, let me ask you this, like, who's consumed cannabis before? Raise your hand.
So
And
scared.
most people start off the class, their arms are crossed, they're sitting back in their seats, just like, I don't know about this, like very like hesitant about what we're going to be
Yeah.
sharing. But then
Mhm.
by the end of the class, because we're going through all of the use cases, and a lot of people don't realize the industrial hemp use cases. They don't realize, they realize some of the medical aspects, but when
Right.
we start to get into a lot of the details there, by the end of the class, when I ask that question, like, hey, did this change your perspective of cannabis? It's across the board, smiling faces, hands are raised. It's a whole different environment. And so that's just really for us has been something like a light bulb moment of there is just so much stigma around this that if we come with an education forward approach, then I
Mhm.
think the data speaks for itself. And I think a lot of people will then understand, okay, the perception that I've had around this, maybe it's time for me to question that a little bit.
Right, right. I had to ask that question because I always tell people that it's interesting to hear the cultural side of things because my parents, my dad's from the Philippines, my mom is from El Salvador. My dad's totally chill with it, cool, knows about it, kind of dibble dabbled in it. My mom is still sees it as something related to the gangs and still part of the drug war that they experience in their country. And so when you're saying that this is institute that was primarily for Brazilian students, I would say that's really interesting. And to have it, um, translated in their language is so important because that can also be a barrier in understanding the difference of hemp and the difference in cannabis, and all the different cannabinoids that we go through and are discussing now in our space, all the terpenes. And then all the different products and all the innovative stuff that's happening now is probably so much for them to take on. They don't know where to start. And so I love that you guys are reaching out and out of the space because I think that's where most of the impact is needed as far as education. So having conversations like this always excites me. The more we can put this out there in a lax way for other people to absorb it, I think is super important when it comes to education. So thank you for taking